This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Hey, it's Brian Christopher. Ready to chill this summer? You're in luck. I'm hanging out at Chumba Casino, and you're in for a treat. Chillax with hundreds of games, daily bonuses, exciting spins, and epic prizes. It's all here, always free to play. Kick back, have fun, and head to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's make this summer legendary.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus.
This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You could stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, or you could spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. That's eating good in the neighborhood. This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Football is back. That means it's tailgate time, and this season, the only meat I'm going to grill is Dietz and Watson. I'm loving the Black Angus Dietz dogs. They're flavor-packed, and you can tell they are made with the highest quality ingredients. Sundays just got a whole lot better. Visit DietzandWatson.com/therightway to learn more about the Dietz difference.
This is the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Leader Fan Radio Network.
Okay.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes, 5 seconds past 3 Central Daylight Time. Welcome back. It is a midweek Wednesday edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on still yet another in an endless series of very summery weekday afternoons here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I am the host of the program, former Ink Stain Wretch newspaper, the Twin Cities. My name is Dan Barreiro. I could not have survived the latest Star Tribune deadlines. Let me be the first to say it. I'm glad that ship has sailed. Guardsy is the producer of the broadcast and 2-time state high school tennis champion as well. This is a full show today. We're going the 3.5-hour distance. That means we wrap up at 6:30 tonight. We have 3 outstanding guests. We'll give you details on that in a minute, as we also remind you of the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line, which most of you know by heart by now, 64686. That's 64686. I keep waiting for something to happen on the wall opposite me in our main studio, because we had a major remodeling campaign, kind of sprucing up several of the other walls. Yep. The other, I guess you could say the other 3. And the one I'm facing, I feel like it's still incomplete. Are we waiting for something to arrive? Because we used to have some signage up, like with the text line,
right? Things
like that. I see a couple of the old KFAN boards in the corner. Are we waiting on something that's on order? That's going to be on that back wall where the Toshiba Regza is located?
We must be. And it's funny you bring it up today, because I was thinking of it today as well while I was watching KFAN.com/watch this morning at like 8:15 in my house, the live stream of the Power Trip morning show. And whenever they cut to Sauce, it's just him and then that black wall.
That very bland,
whatever that
dark
color
gray
is.
Yeah, it's kind of a dark gray color. Yes.
Sometimes you see Nordo in the background getting ready for 9 to noon. Yeah. And I wondered the same thing. I wonder when they're going to spruce that wall up.
I'm very curious to find out what it's going to be, too.
It's probably just more brick, don't you think?
That would be my suggestion. But would you need, if you're going to do the brick, would you need the gray that they already added? Maybe you do as a backing first before the brick comes in.
Like a primer?
Maybe it's a primer. Yeah. You're right. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not exactly sure. But we eagerly wait in great anticipation of that decision being made. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat has become I think, a well-worn but durable sports cliche. That the beauty of it is I think it stands the test of time in pretty much any era, any sports era, for any sports fan in any market. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Now, this goes all the way back to before you were born. What year were you born?
1982.
Yeah, this was before you were born. And I think it originated in the 60s, but was played a lot in the 70s as well, introducing a long gone, I think, but outstanding Emmy Award-winning Saturday sports show on ABC called The Wide World of Sports. Can we listen to the Open? Because it does apply to today's Open on this show as well.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
How classy is that? How dramatic.
I love the voice. I love the music.
And of course, The Voice, for those who don't know, is one of the greatest sports anchors in the history of national sports anchors. I'm not even sure he's ever been surpassed or even matched. His name, Jim McKay. Jim McKay was such a remarkable professional, could cover pretty much anything, and did have to cover some very hard news at the Munich Olympics back in the day when Israeli athletes were taken hostage and ultimately were killed. He became the voice of that story, the narrator of that particular story. But the thrill of victory, I mean, again, there's obviously lots of in-betweens, you could say, in terms of the range, but that's the range on the high and low end. The thrill of victory and agony of defeat. That's what we watch for. That's what we wait for, those contrasts. And frankly, as the cliche also goes, you're not going to really attain the true thrill of victory without having to suffer the agony of defeat. That's what makes the thrill of victory, when it comes, that much more dramatic. That's why, for example, the football gods have tortured Vikings fans for several generations. They intend to give you a payoff eventually. They will.
Theoretically.
We don't know what century it's going to be, but
Right.
They will. The longer it goes, though, the more agonies of defeat you experience, the greater the high of the thrill of victory is going to be. It would never, when it happens, it would never have felt that thrilling had you not had to endure the series of agonies that you've had generation after generation. Does that make sense?
It does. Is it accurate as a Cubs fan?
Yes.
When you won in 2016?
Yes. Well, there's no question.
All was right with the world.
There's no question that that enhanced the story, including all those chokes when they got to the postseason or close to the postseason previously as well. Now, again, it's always easier to say it in that laboratory clinical fashion when it's not you suffering. So I grant that might not be much consolation to Vikings fans. I bring all of this up because today is one of those days in Minnesota sports history where I believe you might have as great a contrast between the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat on the same calendar day. What's the date today? September 17th?
It is.
September 17th, as provided by our guy, Dan Minnesota. Now, again, both of these events go back a ways. But I do think, in a sense, they both stand the test of time. Do you want the thrill of victory first or the agony of defeat first?
Which
do you prefer?
I think let's
get
go
the
agony
out of the way?
Yes.
And then move up the thrill?
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of times you like to dwell on the agony more. So if we get the agony out of the way, we know we have to get to the thrill.
Well, I can go long.
You could.
On that first segment.
But there is a deadline, at least.
There is?
So let's go agony first.
All right, let's go agony of defeat. And you probably know this one. We've talked about this one before. September 17, 1,983, before allegedly a crowd of 62,687 at the Metrodome. What took place?
Oh, this has to be Gophers, Nebraska.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, I did see this earlier today.
Minnesota 13, Nebraska 84. We've broken this down before. It's been a while since we have. And we've had people call in who say they were at this ball game, or they've texted at least, or emailed in the past. You want to see the most misleading? You want me to offer up the most misleading stat in a game that finished 84-13?
Time of possession?
First downs.
Oh.
Nebraska 25, Minnesota 21.
Gopher Nation.
Well, how's that possible? Well, it was largely possible because Nebraska had so many long touchdown plays that they didn't really need first downs because they kept scoring touchdowns.
Yep.
First quarter, can I give you the scoring summary for the first quarter?
Why not?
Nebraska, 12:20 to go in the opening quarter, so that's 2.5 minutes in. Shellen, somebody named Shellen, I don't know who he is, 27-yard run, kick failed, 6-0. Nebraska, 5 minutes later, Irving Fryer, 68-yard pass from Turner Gill, 14-0 with the 2-point conversion. Gill to Fryer on the 2-pointer, 68-yard pass. Still first quarter, less than 5 minutes later, Fryer, 70-yard pass from Gill, Schneider kick, 21-0. So your three touchdowns were in the opening stanza, 27, 68, and 70. Second quarter, Fryer scores on a 41-yard run. Somebody named Smith scores on a 12-yard run. And then in the third quarter, Rozier, 71-yard touchdown run. And then in the fourth quarter, I guess Nebraska, even with backup players in, did not call off the dogs. Smith, 51-yard pass from somebody named Sundberg. So it's the backup QB.
Mm-hmm.
Sundberg, 44-yard touchdown run. I mean, that's a lot of big plays, right? So touchdowns of 44, 51, 71, 70, and 68. They didn't need first down.
No, they got multiple first downs every play.
Total yards in the game? Well, let's give you just rushing yards. I think even you can do this math. 52 carries, 585 yards.
Oh, my goodness.
That's over 10 yards a carry, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And they also passed for another 195. So their total offense for the ball game, 780 yards. And here's the kicker. Look at these percentages. This will tell you what a different age it was when it comes to college football. Passing for the game. Nebraska, 5 for 15, 1 pick. Minnesota, 8 for 33.
Oh, wow.
2 picks. Not going to work in 2025,
8 for
is it?
33.
8 for 30, bleeping 3. How about that? We only had 35 yards in penalties compared to their 89, so we did have a little bit of discipline. Time of possession, Nebraska 37 minutes, 37 and a half minutes, Minnesota 22 and a half as well. Turner Gill, that was the Nebraska quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you never believe this in a game that finishes 84-13. 3 for 12 passing. 3 for 12. Somebody named Murphy was the Gopher starter in this game.
Okay.
He was 8 for 25. He got replaced by somebody named Hare, Hare. Do you remember him?
I don't.
He threw 8 passes, completed none, and threw 2 picks. That's got to be like a 0. Is that a negative quarterback rating?
It can't be a positive one.
It's got to be. 0 for 8 and 2 picks for 0 yards.
That's tough.
That's got to be the worst performance in. And I'm sure he was a hell of a guy with a heart of gold, right?
Probably.
And there's probably maybe a member of the Hare family. I don't know if they're local or not. I'm going to look him up. Hare, the backup quarterback. I doubt he ever became the starter on that basis.
I don't remember him. I do remember we played the Tom Osborne halftime interview, I think, and he basically did the thing that every coach does. We got to play to our standard. He didn't like a couple of things that he saw out there. They were up like 60-2 at halftime. But you have to play the role.
You have to play the role.
You have to do it.
You have no choice. So that's that really might not be agony of defeat, because I think of agony of defeat more as an incredibly close call.
Right. The
wide
Michigan
left,
loss.
Michigan loss, whatever. Yeah. But for polar opposites, I don't think you can get much worse than that on the lower end of the scale. Being edged at home, apparently in front of a capacity crowd, maybe 25,000 Nebraska fans, I don't know, of 84-13. On this same date, though, something wonderful happened for the Minnesota sports fan. Many of you weren't born for this one either, but it's worthy of a couple of good nuggets and a discussion, and then we will prepare you for the rest of what should be a very...
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Anyone else feeling hungry? Because Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You could stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, mozzarella sticks and marinara, or brew pub pretzels with white cheddar beer cheese, or you could spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. The choice is yours. The Ultimate Trio is the perfect way to hit all your cravings in one plate and turn appetizers into an entree. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. That's eating good in the neighborhood.
Bailey Zimmerman just announced his biggest tour yet, the 2026 Different Nights, Same Rodeo Tour, hitting over 30 cities across the U.S. and Canada. Following his sold-out 2025 run, Bailey is bringing his electrifying live show to even bigger stages in 2026, with stops in major cities like Nashville, Boston, Atlanta, Toronto, and more. His new album, Different Nights, Same Rodeo, is out now, featuring the #1 hit Backup Plan with Luke Combs, plus fan favorites like Lost with the Kid Laroi, Holy Smokes, and Holding On. The sophomore album showcases Bailey's signature blend of rock-powered country and heartfelt storytelling, making it a must-listen for fans old and new. Fans can elevate their night with VIP packages that include premium seats, exclusive merch, and access to Bailey's pre-show soundcheck party. With new music, massive energy, and a can't-miss tour on the horizon, now's the time to get your tickets. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com.
America is changing, and so is the world.
But what's happening in America isn't just a cause of global upheaval. It's also a symptom of disruption that's happening everywhere.
I'm Asma Khalid in Washington, D.C.
I'm Tristan Redman in London, and this is The Global Story.
Every weekday, we'll bring you a story from this intersection, where the world and America meet.
Listen on bbc.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Controversial program.
Today you can join Papa Murphy's in supporting Annunciation Catholic School. If you order online and use promo code HOPE, 50% of your purchase goes directly to the school. Valid at all Minneapolis, Rochester, and Mankato locations. Let's come together and make a difference today with Papa Murphy's for Annunciation. Go online, papajohns.com. Use the promo code HOPE. 50% of your purchase goes directly to the school.
I want to give Andy Hare, H-A-R-E, his proper due as the backup Gopher quarterback, or one of them, in that tumultuous 1983 season. The same season when the club was edged 13-84 by Nebraska. He did complete 2 passes that season in another game and threw a touchdown.
There you go.
However, his touchdown to interception ratio, well, 1 TD and 4 picks out of 13 passes.
Gopher Nation.
Andy Hare is his name. Smokey Joe Salem was coaching. A couple people have asked on that. The Gophers finished 1-10 that season, and on average were outscored 47-16 that year.
Wow.
They gave up, on average for the season, 47 points. That was dead last in all of college football. They had some defensive challenges that year, it's fair to say.
Lou Holtz came pretty quickly after that, right?
That's true.
84, 85.
Yeah, that's right. So there you have it. Now, how about the thrill of victory? Before we get to that, Texter 952 guy, Dan, I believe I just heard you say Jim McKay was the best sports commentator maybe in history. Respectfully, I'd have to disagree with you and say Bob Costas is the best to date. Maybe I'm a little biased because I grew up in St. Louis where he started out at KMOX. His career spans the Olympics, basketball, Super Bowls, World Series, football, etc. I guess I'll put this under the classification of I'm not going to compare eras. Costas is obviously an all-timer. I bring up McKay because I think he's been gone so long, he does not get his due. Jim McKay had a lot of Costas-like qualities before Costas was old enough, I think, to talk. So McKay should never be forgotten. And the voice itself was mythic, as you heard on the opening of Wide World of Sports. And by the way, so the thrill of victory, I think the most prominent video is of Pele, the soccer star, celebrating a victory. And the agony of defeat is one of the great sports film tragic moments ever of a ski jumper from Eastern Europe. His name was Vinko Bogataj. And the only reason, as someone who forgets names repeatedly from 2 weeks ago, that I remember it that clearly is I ended up interviewing him, I want to say in Sarajevo, the first Olympics I covered, Winter Olympics, that I think would be 1984. And you look at the video of that ski jumper, Vinko Bogataj, you say, well, did he die? I mean, it's awful looking. It's cataclysmic what happens to him. And he lived to tell it, and then a couple reporters found him, and a few of us ended up talking to him. It ended up being a hell of a column. It was fun to catch up with. Vinko Bogataj. So, again, you pick Costas. It doesn't have to be an either or.
Correct.
McKay is just very, very good. Now, on this date, on the thrill of victory side, September 17th, and this goes back to 1961. This is even further back. The very first game in Minnesota Vikings history. Let me read you Jim Klobuchar's, that would be the father of Amy Klobuchar, his lead. Rookie Fran Tarkenton, a pass-throwing prodigy from Georgia, stirred Minnesota's Vikings into a touchdown frenzy that struck down the Chicago Bears 37-13 and rocked Pro Football Sunday.
Where are we, America?
The 21-year-old Rebel fired 4 touchdown passes and scored once himself to startle a Metropolitan Stadium crowd of, you want to predict what the crowd total was on that day?
I'm going to say like 48,000.
32,236 and leave the heavily favored Bears distraught. It was a National Football League bombshell, a runaway victory by a first-year team making its league debut with a squad of alleged misfits and callow rookies. Tarkenton, hurling passes with glacial calm and exploiting nearly every Bear bungle, completed 17 of 23 passes for 250 yards in one of the extraordinary first-game performances by an NFL rookie quarterback. Entered late in the first period with the Vikings holding a 3-0 lead, but demonstrating continued failures to click in touchdown territory. So it sounds like he didn't even start. Came off the bench and dominated from that point forward. Within 2 minutes after the second quarter opened, he whipped a 14-yard pass to Bob Schnelker.
Wow, I didn't know that.
For a 10-0 Vikings lead. Schnelker, of course, would later be Jerry Burns' offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Much maligned. And then that was the inspiration of one of the great Burnsy rants related to his belief that Schnelker got way too much abuse.
He'll always be the offensive coach.
That's it. It's not Schnelker's fault that was it Rick Fenny? Rick Fenny's shoe fell off. No, it wasn't him. It was Anderson's shoe fell off.
I love Anderson.
I love Anderson. It's not Schnelker's fault. And it went on and on. We have it here somewhere. It's outstanding.
Oh, we've played it a time or two.
But he caught the first touchdown pass in Vikings history. Bobby Schnelker. The bumbling Bears recouped momentarily, escaped their errors long enough to lunge 66 yards in 13 plays. So they cut the halftime deficit to 10-6 with some momentum. But the Vikings reversed it with one chilling tackle that permitted Tarkenton to deliver the touchdown that set off the stampede early in the third quarter. And by the way, I'm looking at the front page, sports page of the Minneapolis Morning Tribune. And there's one Vikings gamer. Then there's Lions quell Packers, win 17-13. Cowboys nip Steelers in late second. Jurgensen Eagles tip Cleveland. It's like, did they only have like a gamer that day? Things have changed when it comes to local coverage involving the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I don't think Gessling's writing like that.
I don't either. Or at least there's got to be. Now, maybe on the jump, there's a bunch of other stories. I don't know. But I was just struck by the fact that from this front page, you would think that this was like a national newspaper that had several games covered as opposed to, it's the first game in the history of our team. You'd think almost every story should have some reflection of or connection to the fact that the Vikings made history. And it was, I remember Jay Barreiro, I remember him talking about it. I wasn't old enough to remember it. I would have been, 6? But he did talk about it afterwards, and it was maybe one of the most embarrassing moments in Bears history, and there have been a bunch. But think about it. New expansion team, you kidding me? First game, you not only lose, you get humiliated. You get dominated by this
rebel kid.
This rebel kid out of Georgia named Francis Tarkenton.
And it's been smooth sailing for the Vikings ever since.
Can you argue with it?
Imagine if we knew now, or knew then
let me
what
ask
we
you
know
this.
now.
Since that game was played, the Bears have won 2 titles, and the Vikings have won 0. Well, it's a technicality. The Bears won the NFL title in 1963.
Got it.
You could say technically the Vikings won an NFL title too.
Yep.
But of course, only the Bears of the 2 teams have made it, and not only made it, but won their only Super Bowl attempt. That's the age-old question we get. If your choices were you can get to the Super Bowl multiple times and might not win, or you're guaranteed to win but you never get back as a fan, which do you go for?
I think you got to take the Super Bowl.
You have to take the victory?
Yeah.
Even if it means you never go back? The Bears haven't even come close to going back.
Well, they went back in 2008 with Rex Grossman.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
You're right. It doesn't even count.
Somehow with Rex Grossman.
They did.
The Prince Super Bowl.
Well, but they didn't win.
They didn't win.
They started with a kickoff return for a touchdown and never won it.
Didn't win it. As I respond every time you bring up this hypothetical, in my lifetime, they've done neither. They've never gone to the Super Bowl, let alone won it. So I can't really tell you which feeling I would prefer because I've experienced neither or neither of them. I can't answer. You're talking to the wrong guy.
Yeah, you are the wrong guy.
And I'm 43 years old.
You're disqualified.
And I can't tell you how I felt when the Vikings went to the Super Bowl because it hasn't happened in my lifetime.
Paul from Burnsville writes, I had Tarkenton on my fantasy football league team in 61.
Genius.
In 1961. I ruled that
Keeper
year.
league.
Outstanding work. We're going to stay with the football conversation. A little bit more national in scope. We'll explain with our guest.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Julian Edelman from Games with Names. Anyone else feeling hungry? Because Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You could stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, mozzarella sticks and marinara, or brew pub pretzels with white cheddar beer cheese. Or you could spice things up and try some unexpected combinations like dipping chicken wonton tacos in their honey Dijon mustard. The choice is yours. The Ultimate Trio is the perfect way to hit all your cravings in one plate and turn appetizers into an entree. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. That's eating good in the neighborhood.
Bailey Zimmerman just announced his biggest tour yet, the 2026 Different Night, Same Rodeo Tour, hitting over 30 cities across the U.S. and Canada. Following his sold-out 2025 run, Bailey is bringing his electrifying live show to even bigger stages in 2026, with stops in major cities like Nashville, Boston, Atlanta, Toronto, and more. His new album, Different Night, Same Rodeo, is out now, featuring the #1 hit, Backup Plan with Luke Combs, plus fan favorites like Lost with the Kid Laroi, Holy Smokes, and Holding On. The sophomore album showcases Bailey's signature blend of rock-powered country and heartfelt storytelling, making it a must-listen for fans old and new. Fans can elevate their night with VIP packages that include premium seats, exclusive merch, and access to Bailey's pre-show soundcheck party. With new music, massive energy, and a can't-miss tour on the horizon, now's the time to get your tickets. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com.
America is changing, and so is the world.
But what's happening in America isn't just the cause of global upheaval. It's also a symptom of disruption that's happening everywhere.
I'm Asma Khalid in Washington, D.C.
I'm Tristan Redman in London, and this is The Global Story.
Every weekday, we'll bring you a story from this intersection where the world and America meet.
Listen on bbc.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Just when we come back. Next guest has a new book out. In fact, it's like the release date was yesterday, the 16th of September. It's called Brady versus Belichick, the Dynasty Debate via St. Martin's Press. Longtime contributor to this program, former teammate of mine going back to Dallas, Texas days, Gary Myers is kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline. And as we say hello, and before we get into the book, I do have to carry over a conversation we spent a lot of time on yesterday. I know you are aware of the news that broke yesterday that Robert Redford had died at the age of 89 years old. And in my experience with other writers, broadcasters, etc., there's a big divide and debate about The Natural. There are some people in our business who loved that film. I was one of them. I loved the mythology of it, even though it was obviously very different than the book. Others who couldn't stand it. Where were you on the whole the Natural? And because that obviously it evoked a lot of memories yesterday with the Redford news.
Well, Dan, it was neither my favorite Redford movie nor my favorite baseball movie.
Okay, so that's fair.
I guess we differ a little bit on that, but I didn't dislike it. It just there's a lot of other baseball movies I've liked much more.
What was your favorite? I assume every writer tells me their favorite Redford movie was All the President's Men. I don't know if that was it for you, but if we disqualified All the President's Men, because we continually hear that from writers or people who are in our business, if you took that out, what would be your favorite Redford film?
Well, either a Sting or a Butch Cassidy.
Yeah.
He was in so many great movies, and it's so sad, because I never thought of him that he was 89 years old.
I didn't either. Yeah.
He just always seemed like he was in his, 40s, making movies. He looked so young.
Yep.
But, so you love the The Natural, huh?
I did, and again, I understood because the purists said, well, the way the movie ends is the exact opposite of the book, so it takes away the spirit of the book, which obviously is not as uplifting at all. But a lot of people felt more human, and I got that. But I actually thought I viewed it as it's intended as a fairy tale, but I still think that the performances were good. Somebody wrote, I think, in the Times overnight, that one of the reasons the movie did so well is that Redford as an athlete was believable. You know, we've had some sports movies where the person you put in that main role, you go, my God, doesn't even look like an athlete, doesn't move like an athlete. And I think Redford, despite his age, I think he was like mid-40s when the movie was done, I thought he pulled that part. He looked like he could have been a pitcher or he could have had a swing at the plate. Obviously, he's not a great hitter, but I felt that did help the film. He looked athletic enough.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But again, it would be a little bit down my list of baseball movies. I mean, I don't know if you remember this one, but you know, HBO when I was there did a movie on Maris and Mantle called 61.
Yeah, it's a great. Yes,
I really like Billy Crystal helped direct it.
Very well done.
It was really good.
Yeah,
it was really, really good.
Outstanding for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the book. It came out, released officially yesterday, I assume available everywhere, including online. Brady versus Belichick, the dynasty debate. It's a subject that comes up a lot, obviously. The longer Bill Belichick is away from working with Brady, and now, of course, they're both out of professional football with Belichick now in the college game. But what made you think you could build an entire book out of this? What was the kind of the history of putting this thing together?
Well, I mean, I think you remember from our days in Dallas together, I can write 1,000 words on nothing. So writing a whole book on a great subject was going to be easy for me. I guess, I really think it's like the most intriguing unanswered question of this era of the NFL is, how do you divide the credit between the guy who's considered the greatest quarterback of all time and the greatest coach of all time? And it wasn't so much, okay, if you just try and figure it out who gets more, 51% to 49%, that would probably be pretty easy. I think you'd say Brady. But to me, it went deeper, like what percentage do you actually assign to Brady and what percentage do you assign to Belichick? And in order to do that, I talked to a million people and really got into a lot of different areas. Deflategate, Spygate, the impact on their legacies, how much Brady needed Belichick at the beginning to draft him, and then Brady wound up saving Belichick's job in New England, and how it transitioned from being a Belichick-dominated team to a Brady-dominated team, and had that impact the overall discussion. And then me, you might disagree with me on this, I completely dismissed what happened after Brady left New England and went to Tampa and won a Super Bowl, and then Belichick struggles and gets fired after 4 years in New England without Brady. To me, that was as irrelevant to the argument as Belichick's 37-45 record in Cleveland. The whole debate is, how do you split up the credit for what they did and accomplished together in New England, not how they did when they were separated.
No, I think that's fair. It's interesting because you traced also some pro football history, which I do think is useful in this case. And you talked with Joe Montana because, a lot of people said, okay, well, Montana, obviously with Bill Walsh, was a terrific pairing, a terrific union, one could say. And give the listeners a sense, I know a lot of this is in the book, what Montana told you, and maybe a little bit of the contrast that I think Montana sets up between his percentage credit he thinks he deserves with his head coach and that of what Brady deserves with Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking to Joe, he gave, I said, come on, Joe, you're selling yourself short, but he gave Walsh 75% of the credit. And he said, you got to explain that to me. How do you come up with that? And he said, Bill was an offensive coach, and he considered himself the mailman, that Walsh would come up with the play. He designed the offense, came up the play, sent the play in, and Joe was just out there executing and, as he said it, delivering the mail. I think it went a little more than that.
I agree.
Joe's contribution, And then he gave 60% to Brady over Belichick because he said that Belichick was a defensive coach. So Brady, in his mind, deserved more of the credit. What he probably isn't aware of is the influence that Belichick had offensively on Brady early in his career, because in the beginning of Brady's second training camp, his quarterback coach, Dick Rabine, who was really instrumental in Belichick drafting Brady to begin with, because Rabine loved him and wanted him to take him in the third or fourth round. He wound up taking him in the sixth round, but Rabine passed away right at the beginning of training camp. And Belichick did not hire another quarterback coach. He had Charlie Weiss as the coordinator, but Belichick became the quarterback coach. And he would sit with Brady every Tuesday night and explain what he was looking at from a defensive coordinator's point of view, which, as logical as that seems, is very rare that you had a great defensive coach explaining to the quarterback what he's actually looking at through the eyes of a defensive coordinator. And I think that was really instrumental in helping Brady develop in those early years.
You also spent a lot of time talking with Belichick, and it's interesting to hear some of the stuff he had to say, which was, in effect, no hard feelings, that he really did not blame Brady at all for saying that it was time to move on from New England.
Well, the thing that he didn't really get into, and I do in the book, is that it's not like he stood in the way of Brady leaving. He kind of pushed him out the door. And he thought Brady was done. He didn't want to commit a lot of money over a long period of time to him. And he had convinced Kraft that Brady was on the downside, and the fact that the year before, in the 2018 season, Belichick was on thin ice himself, because Robert Kraft was all ticked off because the year before, as you remember in the game in Minneapolis, Malcolm Butler didn't play one defensive snap, right, and Belichick never felt compelled to explain it. So Kraft goes into the 2018 season. He had Belichick on double secret probation, that if they didn't have a good year, he was going to get rid of Belichick. He was going to get rid of Belichick and keep Brady. Well, what happens is they beat the Rams 13-3 in the Super Bowl. The Rams had a really high-scoring offense, and Kraft becomes convinced that Belichick still had a lot of gas left in the tank, and Belichick convinced Kraft that Brady did not. And so Kraft sided with Belichick, and that's a decision he lived to regret, because he has said that if he had to do it over again, he would have kept Brady and got rid of Belichick.
How about, did you get much from, I know you got a lot from Tom Brady Sr. What about, before we get to that, what about from Tom himself?
Well, it's interesting that, and I'm not afraid to admit this, because I really did try hard. Tom was great when I did my Brady Manning book 10 years ago.
Yep.
And we've always had a good relationship. He did not want to talk about this. And he never told me that directly himself. But his dad, who I talk to all the time, texted Tom. He actually sent me the text message that he sent to Tom, so I know that he was telling me the truth, not that I ever doubted it. I sent emails to Tom many times, telling him what I was doing and that I really just needed to talk to him. If we can do it we can do it on email, if he didn't want to do it over the phone or in person. And Dan, he just never got back to me. And I was shocked. I tried through Fox. I tried through the Patriots. Like I said, I contacted him directly. I tried through his father. You can't force a guy to talk. And I just don't think he wanted anything to do with the subject. And once I became aware of that, I was convinced that Belichick wouldn't want to talk about it either. But Belichick did, and so I was happy to get Belichick. And I just had so much from Tom from over the years that I certainly would have liked to get his perspective after it was all over between the two of them. But like I said, my editor said, if you don't get either one of them, it's okay, because I just want you to talk to as many people as you can, which I did. And I got Belichick and I couldn't get Brady. So I was disappointed, but like I said, there was nothing I can do. But I know how Tom felt, because we talked about it many times in the past.
New York Times bestselling writer Gary Myers kind enough to join us. His new book that came out yesterday officially, Brady versus Belichick, the Dynasty Debate. Tom Brady Sr. was willing to talk with you. He does not sound like the biggest Belichick admirer.
No, and the thing is, and I've known him now for about 12 or 13 years, and I always felt, and I still to this day, I think what he says is what his son is thinking, but his son can't say it himself. I'm so convinced of that because he gets all his information from his son. Now, certainly he has his own opinions, but I think a lot of it is based on what Tom tells him. So when he's saying that he thought that Belichick, it was more of a matter of expectation rather than appreciation with his son, that's kind of what Tom was telling his dad. I'm sure of that. And he was just, I mean, he really tattooed him. And I wasn't about to tell him to stop, you know. So no. it was some pretty explosive quotes in the book from Tom Sr.
By the way, it sounds like Vinny Testaverde might have been one of the few who, if he had to like cast a vote, casts it more on the big debate question, which is the setup of the whole book for Belichick. More than Brady. I'm sure he doesn't mean it as any kind of a knock on Brady, but he's kind of standing tall for Belichick. Why?
Well, you know, he played for him in Cleveland, and that's where Vinny got his career turned around. And then when Belichick went to the Jets, in the second year, he convinced Parcells to sign Vinny, and the Jets went to the AFC Championship game, and Vinny had the best year of his career. And then he wound up playing for Belichick. He was the backup for Brady for a short period of time in New England. So that's three different teams that Vinny was on with Belichick, and he just really likes him. And it's interesting to me that a quarterback backed a coach, but when I talked to Rex Ryan, a coach, he backed the quarterback. Yeah. But and he was very adamant about it was all Brady. And part of that, as people have become aware with Rex over the years, that Rex loves him some Rex, and he thinks he's a better defensive coach than Belichick, and that give me a guy like Tom Brady, and I'll win 6 Super Bowls also. Yeah. So he was kind of downplaying Belichick in his argument.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I think some of that was, God, to have a quarterback like that, you know, which he never had. He had some decent ones, right? But he didn't have anybody on that particular level. I think that had a lot to do with it.
Well, he had Mark Sanchez, which, no, he was not on Brady's level.
Not quite. No,
although he did beat him in a playoff game.
That's true. That's true. I loved him, Sanchez, coming out of college, and he had a minute or two, but obviously he didn't sustain anything. Speaking of Brady, while we have you, I want to get your view on the current kerfuffle, if you want to call it that, after you had the kind of powerful visual on Monday Night Football of Brady in the, I guess you could say, the assistant coach's booth with the headset on, reminding people that, yeah, he's part of this franchise. He's part of the Raiders team. I think for me, it's a pretty damn direct conflict that the league is just sort of ignoring because it's convenient, because it's Tom Brady. Other people are not as convinced. What do you make of that whole thing? Is there a story here or not?
I know. I definitely think there's a story. I think it's awful. Last year, the league's restrictions on Brady were much more stringent than they are this year. Last year, they didn't even let him take part in the production meetings in person or virtually. This year, they're letting him do it virtually. And when he's on the field before the game, he can talk to anybody he wants. So think about it like this. He's doing the Cowboys-Bears game Sunday, right? Your Bears.
Yep.
And the following week, the Raiders are playing the Bears. So anybody who doesn't think that Brady is going to pass on any intel he gets from the Chicago players in these production meetings or just, chatting with them on the field, anything that's going to help the Raiders, I mean, you're just being naive if you don't think that Brady's loyalty is to the Raiders. He owns 5% of the team, which was an awful lot of money. When you say they're looking past it because it's Brady, the funny thing is, when they had the biggest bunch of nonsense in 2015 with Deflategate, they suspended him 4 games.
Yeah.
But now, something that I really think impacts the integrity of the game, when you have an owner of a team being able to meet with players on another team that the team that you were part owner of is playing a week later, and everybody's just saying, it doesn't matter. Chicago players and Ben Johnson came out today and said, well, I'm not going to tell him anything anyhow. But okay, I know Ben Johnson won't tell him anything. But you don't think some players that see Brady on the field are going to be wide-eyed and go, oh, my God, it's Tom Brady. I got to go talk to him. And, Tom is a disarming guy and can ask him questions that's going to be useful for him in the broadcast, but might also be useful to the Raiders the next week when they play the Bears. I mean, something's got to give here.
I'm with you.
And, Fox doesn't care.
No.
They want Brady to have all the information he can. The Raiders certainly don't care because it can benefit them. Brady doesn't care. So the only one that can really lay down the hammer on this is the league, which seems to be looking the other way.
Yeah, it's a bad look.
It makes no sense to me.
No, yeah, I'm with you 100%. In our remaining minutes, I'll give you a chance to defend your guy, J.J. McCarthy. You're a big Michigan guy. We know that. You've established that previously on the show. He's had one good quarter out of 8. Now you know that he is out hurt. Is it possible that he'll never get the job back from Carson Wentz?
Have you seen Carson Wentz play lately?
Wow.
I don't think that's going to be an issue.
That's a shot.
In fact, Carson Wentz hasn't been on the field very much lately to even make a judgment. Here's the thing. I saw every snap he played when he was 27-1 at Michigan. And I know that Harbaugh ran a pro-style offense, actually like a 1965 offense at Michigan.
Yes.
Because he had a great offensive line and a couple of good running backs. But whenever J.J. needed to make a big throw,
he did.
Such as against Alabama in the semis, the year they won the national championship, he made those throws. He completely outplayed Michael Penix in the national championship game, which I happened to go to with my Michigan son, and it wasn't even close. I think he's like a rookie. I know he's around last year sitting in meetings, but there's nothing that you can compare to the experience of being on the field. And Peyton Manning threw 28 interceptions as a rookie. John Elway, at his first game in 1983, and I covered that game in Pittsburgh, lined up behind the right guard to take the snap. Okay? Didn't line up behind the center. He lined up behind the right guard. He had no idea where he was. So JJ is 1-1. He played so well in that fourth quarter after being horrible for 3 quarters that he was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with, what the public perception is in Minneapolis of JJ, but if people are getting down on him, give him a chance, for God's sakes. I mean, he's 22 years old. He's played 8 quarters of real football in the NFL. I know 7 of them are forgettable, but 1 was pretty good and won a game, and he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He's just got to get himself healthy and get some more experience, and I would just trust Kevin O'Connell on this. They could have brought back Darnold. They could have brought back Daniel Jones. He clearly thought J.J. was the best of the 3, and I would think that he's earned the benefit of trust. Plus, as you know, my daughter-in-law is from Minnetonka. Yes. I have a brand-new grandson who already has a J.J. McCarthy jersey, so we got to make sure that that's worth something. So JJ will be fine.
Well, at least
he'll grow out of that though pretty quickly.
I'm glad. Yeah, that's true too. But I'm glad you're honest about that part. Are you trying? It sounds to me like you're trying to set yourself up for the first authorized JJ McCarthy biography as a pro. That's what it sounds like.
No, listen, I'll tell you this, Dan, and I really mean this sincerely. When all is said and done, JJ McCarthy will be the best quarterback from last year's draft, including Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix. All right?
We're going to
talk about this in 2 years.
Yeah, we'll clip it.
It's going to take a few years.
Yeah.
But you watch. I mean, he's got great talent around him, and he throws it well. He can run it. Nobody could have operated behind that offensive line after 2 starters went out against Atlanta. He had no time to throw the ball. Cut him a break. It used to be you didn't know about a quarterback for 4 years.
Yeah.
Now we're in instant gratification. He's played 2 games. If people in Viking fans are ready to give up on him.
No, they're not. They're definitely not.
I don't know what to say.
No, they're not ready to give up. I think that what he is stuck with, and I predicted this before the season began, is here's the disconnect. If you make the decision to go with him, knowing that it's going to take some time, and at the same time, you are as ambitious in free agency in the offseason as the Vikings were, coming off a 14-3 season, people have expectations that this isn't going to be a year we're just going to punt on for the sake of giving him experience. It leads to the notion that we're going for something right now. And that's why, as I said, in the summer, he's going to face or has already faced unrealistic expectations. But I think to a certain extent, the Vikings set that up by all the other moves that they made. And that's sort of the contradiction. But no, I'm kidding. No one's actually giving up on him. I do think he looked a little more overwhelmed than I thought he would. Obviously, the line had some issues. But it may well be this little time off is going to end up helping him a little bit. I mean, it wasn't planned. It's an ankle injury. But keeping something in mind, you mentioned KOC. He's the quarterback whisperer. Maybe he finds the old Carson Wentz magic. What do you think of that?
I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. Listen, what I saw from Sam Darnold, if people are comparing, should have kept Sam Darnold, what you saw from Sam Darnold in the game in Detroit and in the playoff game in L.A. is what I saw from Darnold during his Jets career. Now, overall, it's somewhere in between how he played last year for the Vikings and how he finished up last season for the Vikings.
True.
And you see that now in Seattle. He's not playing nearly as well through 2 games. I know it's only 2 games, as he did in Minnesota last year. So I had no problem with them not bringing back Darnold. As far as Daniel Jones, I saw enough of Daniel Jones here for 5 or 6 years that, I am surprised about what's happened in Indianapolis. Again, just like you don't want to get too down on a guy after 2 games. I'm not buying in on Daniel Jones yet after 2 games because I've seen enough of him. I think that O'Connell made the right decision. Plus, they had a lot of invested in him.
Correct.
You take a quarterback with the 10th pick in the draft, unless it's a situation like it was in Arizona a few years ago where they took Josh Rosen and bailed on him after a year to take Kyler Murray, you got to give the guy a chance. And
he'll get it. He'll definitely get the chance.
I knew it was going to play out like this, that McCarthy would be the quarterback this year. I honestly did think he would play better over the first 2 games, but it's a long season, and maybe sitting out now for a while will help. But the last thing I would expect is when he's healthy is that Carson Wentz has played well enough to keep the job. I just don't anticipate that at all.
Brady versus Belichick. The Dynasty Debate is the new Gary Myers book. It is out, available, I assume, bookstores everywhere, online everywhere, via St. Martin's Press, correct?
Yeah, I just got to tell you one fast thing. I was on Good Morning America yesterday with Strahan.
Nice.
And if we ever talked all those years ago in Dallas about one of us being on the morning news show, the national news show, we would have laughed each other out of the building.
True.
But when Strahan asked me a question yesterday, before answering the question, I said, Michael, it's so nice after 15 years of asking you questions in locker rooms that the tables are turned now and you got to ask me questions.
I'm sorry.
And at the end of the interview, he says to me, I was a lot easier on you than you ever were on me. And I said, that's definitely true.
There's no question about that. That's a nice spot. That's good. That should help the books. Now, we might not have quite that influence, but we might sell you a book or 2 in the metropolitan area. Well, who's to say?
My book, after being out for 1 day, is the number 2 ranked football book on Amazon. You'll never guess what number 1 is. So I'm going to tell you.
Number 1,
Terry Bradshaw's cookbook.
Are you serious?
Which I do not consider that a football book, so I'm considering myself.
I didn't even know it existed. Oh, my God. Terry
I know. I had no idea either.
That's too good.
I saw I was number 2, and I said, what's number 1? Is it Seth Wickersham's book? Or
that's
and
funny.
I saw Terry Bradshaw's family cookbook. I go, oh, my God.
That's the world we live in now, man. Myers, it's great stuff. Great to catch up. We'll be in touch as the season plays out. Thanks, man.
All right, take care.
Good to talk to you.
Soon.
Gary Myers, a former colleague of mine many, many moons ago at the Dallas Morning News. He was working. He worked at the New York Daily News for a long time. Now he's just writing books. Brady versus Belichick, the Dynasty Debate, is the
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Rob Gronkowski from Dudes on Dudes. Applebee's just cooked up the ultimate option play with their new Ultimate Trio deal. You can choose from 3 of their delicious appetizers and pair them up with 3 sauces for just $14.99. Craft your perfect trio from over 80,000 different combinations in this flavor-packed plate built for one, or to share if you're generous. You can stick with the classic pairings like boneless wings and buffalo sauce, or you can spice things up and try some unexpected pairings like dipping chicken wonton tacos in our honey Dijon mustard. It's time to head to your neighborhood Applebee's or order online today. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
America is changing, and so is the world.
But what's happening in America isn't just a cause of global upheaval. It's also a symptom of disruption that's happening everywhere.
I'm Asma Khalid in Washington, D.C.
I'm Tristan Redman in London, and this is The Global Story.
Every weekday, we'll bring you a story from this intersection where the world and America meet.
Listen on bbc.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
A new NFL season means a fresh start and fresh styles. At NFLshop.com, you'll find the latest jerseys, hats, and sideline gear to rep your team all season long. From rookies making their debut to legends, NFLshop.com has it all. Score exclusive styles you won't find anywhere else and show up ready for every kickoff and big play. Fan like a pro and shop now at NFLshop.com.